wealth is the money that you're not spending.
It's scary. It scares me. I mean, I was looking at some stats before we came in today, and 86% of people don't have income protection.
It's not advertised by big banks because they don't sell it. It's not a product they have access to. It's not, you can't get it in Tesco's. It's not the kind of cheap, off-the-shelf kind of product.
No.
Hi, and welcome to Accelerating Your Wealth with your host, myself, Rebecca Robertson. I'm an independent financial advisor and wealth coach. I'm the director of Evolution Financial Planning, who is also our sponsor for today's show. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share and review this episode. With your help, we'll reach more people who can benefit from the show. Quick one before we get back to it. If these conversations are landing for you, we've made something to help you go deeper. It's a short quiz. You answer a few questions and it tells you where to focus, then build you a playlist of every relevant episode so you're not hunting through the whole back catalogue. Investing, divorce, business, there are 9 areas to land in. The link's below. Hi and welcome to Accelerating Your Wealth. I'm your host Rebecca Robertson, and today I'm joined with Carol and Katie, who are going to introduce themselves in just a moment. And we're doing a summer get your stuff together season. So this is a special summer holidays special, and we're on episode 1. There's going to be 6 episodes in total, and we're starting with, well, the start. Where should you start? You should start at the beginning. So building wealth as a woman, where should you actually start? And this is something that is a big question a lot of our clients ask before they come to us, or even at the point where they've got all this information and they just don't know where to start. They don't know how to prioritise. They don't know what they should consider first, and they've got so many questions. And that lack of clarity, confidence, it reflects them in real life, and they then procrastinate, and then they're not making some of those big life decisions. So we're going to be talking a little bit about that today, but not on my own. I've got my colleagues with me. So before we get started, would you like to say hello and introduce yourselves? Katie?
Yes, of course. So I'm Katie. I'm Rebecca's client manager, and I'm also an independent protection advisor. I've worked with Rebecca for 8 years, 9 years, 8 years.
Yeah, I can't get rid of you.
I know. I just keep hanging around. So yeah, that's me. Over to you, Carol.
And I'm Carol Wright. I'm an independent financial advisor with Evolution and a money coach. So I worked for many years in the City of London. I trained as an accountant with PricewaterhouseCoopers, and then I worked in the city for Merrill Lynch and Bank of America for many years. In that role, I spent a lot of time working with traders, structuring financial products, which was really interesting and quite an exciting place to be. However, I've kind of always had a bit of a desire to help people a bit more. My mother was a nurse, a Macmillan nurse, one of the first kind of cancer nurses in the country.
Wow.
Yeah, so I saw through her like the difference she was making to kind of families and people through her role. But I'm not medically trained, so I wasn't going to be doing something like that. But I thought what would be good to use my financial knowledge and put that in place to kind of help people become more financially secure and financially stable, and particularly women kind of improve their financial situation. So I retrained as a financial advisor, and I've started working with Rebecca and Katie for the last kind of 6 months, really.
It has been,
it's been a while.
It's
gone really quickly.
It's gone very quickly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Are you liking it?
I am enjoying it. It's very different from my old career. It's very different.
Very different.
But I'm very much enjoying the meetings I have now with clients, with women, where we're kind of talking through, what they're wanting to do with their lives, and then, helping them kind of put the building blocks in place financially to enable them to get there. So no, it's brilliant. It's enjoyable meetings.
It's something I think we're all really passionate about as well, isn't it? Helping women create their own financial future. So I think it's good that we're all passionate about it.
What did you do before?
I was in a high street bank. Did lots of switchovers within the bank. Started as a cashier, quickly got my qualifications, become mortgage advisor. Then I was branch manager. And then I had a baby.
Yeah.
So it kind of I didn't want to go back full time, because you could only go back full time in the bank, and I didn't want to be away from him for, all those hours in the day. So, and then I kind of stumbled across you.
Yeah. You started off doing some admin, like just a few hours a week. And Literally, she's the boss.
Now I run the show.
I literally don't know what I would do without her. I've got obviously people know me that I've got horses, so I have a horsey wife and we do things that are horsey together, and then I have my work wife and Katie's my work
I bought
wife.
snacks for her today and everything.
literally.
Yeah.
So what does that make me?
Okay, we're not sure. We'll know by the end of the day.
Yeah. What snacks have I got today? No, it's
I've
good.
got you some good snacks.
Okay, cool. So back to the question that we started with. So thank you, ladies, for your intros, and it's really nice to hear, Carol, you're enjoying it. That's the if you change jobs and change career. Imagine if you did all of that and then actually hated it. Could you imagine?
Yeah.
So let's start with asking some questions, and I'll answer some of these myself, but I obviously want to hear from you guys.
Yeah.
So let's start at the beginning. What does building wealth actually mean? So when women hear that word wealth, what do you think they picture?
I think it's different for everybody, isn't it? I think it depends your background, like your education around money, your relationship. I think
what do you interpret that? Maybe not now, you've worked with me for 8 years, but maybe before.
I think wealth is being in a position where you have that extra surplus income each month to even consider, what should I do with this money?
Would you have seen it as something that wasn't relevant to you? If I said to you, 8 or 9 years ago.
Yeah, I think when people think of wealth, they think, you've got lots of savings, you've got lots of money, and I don't think that's always the case. Being able to, some people may consider being able to pay your bills each month without having to, budget or is considered wealth. I think it really does depend on the different person, their background and their views around money.
Very personal. What about you, Carol?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I think there's a kind of traditionally people have very much thought of wealth as possessions, as a flash car, a new handbag, holidays, a bigger house, a second house, and that kind of thing. But I think very much, feel quite strongly actually, wealth is about giving yourself options.
Yes.
And having wealth means then that you can, make different choices, particularly in the future, really. It can then help. As a woman, I think it's very important, and I've very much found this. It's kind of given me the option to change jobs, to retrain, to work more flexibly. And I think, maybe that's not, you wouldn't maybe think that's wealth as in great riches, but having sufficient income that you can make those choices and you can then live your life a bit more flexibly and be able to
not just those short-term choices either, but those longer-term choices, looking at as your children get older going through uni, or, are you going to change house when the children move out? And so, I think it's not just the short-term decisions, it's that longer-term planning as well, isn't it?
For me, just personally, recently, I had a massive bill at the weekend from a tree surgeon. And it really bugged me to hand this money over, but I had no choice. These trees had to come down for real serious reasons. And I had the money, but I begrudged it. But I had the money to pay. And the choices were, there was no choice. It just had to be paid. And I think that puts, for me, that's me being wealthy, because I'm able to actually, reality is I could afford to pay it.
It doesn't necessarily mean having, investments with lots of money, and it means being able to make those decisions as they come up without it impacting on
day-to-day
whether
life.
you're going to eat next week.
Yeah, exactly that.
Yeah, and I read a book quite recently, The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel, and one of his quotes really said with me, wealth is the money that you're not spending.
Yeah.
So you might look at someone with the expensive car, with the flash handbag, with the fancy holidays and think they're wealthy, but they're spending the money, and sometimes it's the person running the old car and buying clothes from Vinted and that kind of thing that actually has the money put aside and is saving the money that has more wealth.
Yes,
and,
one of my aunts, she died when she was quite elderly. We always thought she was skint because she lived in an absolute hovel. She only had central heating downstairs. When she died, everyone got so much money from her, but she lived so frugally that no one actually knew she had all this money, because her house was terrible, and
Yeah, she's
so
not spending it.
her priorities
Yeah.
were different. She was kind of
There's a
squirreling that
whole
money away.
psychology around that though for
Yeah.
elderly people not wanting to spend money
Yeah,
on themselves
yeah.
because that's a generational thing.
And there's
Yeah.
definitely a balance, isn't there,
Yeah.
between, living
Yeah.
living a good life, but
wealth
also,
isn't what it
yeah.
seems sometimes.
Yeah.
Is it?
Exactly. So that we could talk about just like that psychology of wealth
Yeah.
for such a long time. But let's move the conversation on and just talk a little bit about home ownership. So for a lot of women, home ownership gives them that security and that place to live. I mean, as a homeowner, where does that wealth fit into the wealth conversation for women, do you think?
I think again it's about long-term security.
Yeah.
It is about
Yeah.
having a place to call home. It is somewhere that can be your haven. You can
Yeah.
decorate it. You've got that to have. And then I think it is very important for women to know that they are paying off a mortgage so that they can be mortgage free in
Yeah.
retirement.
Yeah.
Ideally, when you retire, you ideally want to have
no
your home
rent
if
to
you,
pay.
Yeah,
And I
not
think
have
they
rent
also
to
look
pay.
at it as something to pass down to their children. Like it's a physical
Yeah.
asset that you can see that's being passed
The only thing
down.
I find that people that the issue is that house prices are going up, they're more expensive. People are having maybe more children, and the women go back to work, but they couldn't actually afford the mortgage on their own.
Yeah.
And we see that a lot in divorce
Yeah.
cases
Yeah.
where they're having to downsize. And that maybe can't actually have to change schools because the children can't go to the
Yeah.
same school in the same area,
Yeah.
and therefore, so me and my partner and I, we've intentionally not gone up to the bigger house and the bigger house, because we don't want to have a really big mortgage. We have started to pay it off now, but we've focused on investments first, and that's a whole sort of other
Yeah.
kind of balance between
Yeah.
the two. So it is the when it comes to is wealth about income, assets, security, freedom of choice, or is it all of it?
I think it's a combination of all of it. Yeah, I do think, there's no point in having loads and loads of income coming in if you've got loads and loads of outgoings. There needs to be a balance that, like you're saying about putting all your money in to pay your mortgage off, well, that's great. What if your boiler blows up and you've got no savings because you've paid it all into the mortgage? So I think there needs to be a balance of both. You need to have that kind of your contingency fund as a minimum. But, yeah, there needs to be a bit of a balance, I think.
Yeah. So do you see women delaying property decisions because they feel that they need to be completely ready? Or do you think people are only buying houses later because of the cost of them?
I think it's so difficult for young people to get on that property market now, isn't it? So I think, I do think we've a client recently didn't buy a property until her 60s because she just wasn't in a financial position to do that.
Yeah, really nice lady. They moved out of London about 5 or 6 years ago, and then they rented. And she took some money out of her pension and that paid down a deposit. She was 62, and they've just got their first house
It's
together.
such a lovely moment because we were kind of part of that journey with her, so it was a really lovely.
Clearing debt, moving out of London,
working really hard to clear debt as well, with a
Yeah.
real focus of this is why I'm doing this.
Yeah, and she wasn't 20s. She
No,
was 62.
really
They've just
nice.
bought their first house together, and the joy that gave her. She's going to have to work later and pay the mortgage off until she's a bit later. But she's now got a better pension provision through the work that she's been doing.
And she's buzzing to be a homeowner as well, which is lovely.
She's so happy. She never thought, because she was in so much debt, she never thought that would happen. She thought that was completely out of reach.
Yeah.
So to be part of that journey with her has been fantastic.
Yeah, really nice.
So when let's talk about protection for a second. When you think about wealth, where does protection fit in? Because is it often missed from the conversation?
Massively. I think it's probably one of the areas of financial planning that's missed a lot. Would you agree, Carol?
Yeah, no, I agree. I've been speaking to a lot of ladies recently who, are quite well sorted in lots of situations with their mortgage, with their income, but actually when it comes to it, they don't have very much protection. And I think if they were to lose their job or to fall ill,
It's scary. It scares me. I mean,
yeah.
I was looking up some stats before we came in today, and 86% of people don't have income protection. That's great the whole time you're employed, but what about when you're not?
I
It
guess for that
scares
situation,
me.
they think, "Well, worker pay me," and then whenever I've spoken to clients, I go, "Well, go and check what actually
Yeah.
you'll get paid," because you don't want to be insured and then paying a bill for the premium each month, then you go to claim, and then actually you can't claim because you're getting paid through
And
work.
that's assuming you're off sick. What if you're made redundant?
Yeah,
you know,
I mean, the redundancy cover used to be quite cheap, and then all of a sudden it became so expensive.
It's becoming more common nowadays.
Yeah, but a lot of people don't know what they get paid sick pay. So you tell them to go and find out, and they come back and go, "Oh, actually, I'm only getting 6 week full pay."
The other thing I find, and again, I don't know if you've had the same thing, Carol, with clients, but they say, "Oh, I've got that through work." That's great when you're employed there, but what about when you leave? If your new company doesn't provide that cover, the older you are, the more expensive it's going to be.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's spoken about enough.
No.
If you're somebody that is not sure what to do with their finances, maybe you're working and you're not sure what to do with the bonuses you've got at work, or maybe you started a business and you've got profits and you're not sure what you should be doing to enable you to A, pay yourself more, or B, potentially retire earlier. Maybe you're somebody that's thinking about, do I overpay on the mortgage? You've received some inheritance. You've got lots of questions around your finances and what to do next. Then check out Evolution Financial Planning, who are regulated independent financial advisors and financial planners that can help you make some of those big decisions in life.
And I don't think people really understand income protection very well. I don't think it's that well known. You know,
Yeah.
and
No,
the fact
it's not advertised by big banks because they don't sell it. There's not a product they have access to. It's not you can't get it in Tesco's. It's not the kind of cheap off the shelf kind of product.
No.
It's something you need to get
It's very
through
tailored, isn't it,
professionals.
to your...
But it has big advantages in that it will, it'll pay out over after a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
But then it will pay out for either a period or until you're well enough to go back to work.
Yeah.
And it's tax free when you earn it. You know, there are.
Yeah.
You know,
you don't want to
advantages
diminish all your
over it.
savings. You spent 10 years saving all your savings, and then all of a sudden it's all gone. But again, I think that depends on your lifestyle. Because if you've got enough savings and actually your lifestyle's not too bad, but your income's quite high and you're able to put more aside and you're not spending so much, there are individuals that, you know, from a cost perspective could say, actually,
I've got enough to last me X amount of time.
And that's where I was speaking to a couple recently that didn't have very significant savings, and that's where income protection could be
really
a better way of kind of building up that buffer really for when they were ill, over and above a couple that have a big lot of savings and potentially they don't need it.
It scares me. It does. It scares me, which is why I'm so passionate about protection. It scares me that there's so many people out there that they've worked so hard on, you know, buying their properties and making building a savings pot, and then one thing can completely change the direction of their life, and you know there is potentially a resolve that can kind of stop that happening.
So protection should be part of the conversation when it comes to wealth. It is a big pillar. Moving on from a money coach perspective, Carol, what emotional and mindset barriers stop women from even getting started?
I think a lot of women kind of can be a bit scared or can feel that they're not capable of managing their finances. They kind of think, oh, that's something I was never very good at. I wasn't good at maths at school, or you know, and so they're almost too apprehensive of even starting. I do have a lot of kind of clients coming to me saying, I know I should be doing this, I should have done this years ago, but I just haven't been able to.
Do you find that they're almost like ashamed as well? It's like they're almost like coming to me and saying, oh, I should have done this, and I'm sorry for not doing it sooner, and I've got to, I'm now in my 40s and I've got to a point where I should have done this 20 years ago, and it's like almost like it's okay, you're not alone.
Well, that's it,
like,
and I'm so pleased they do come, because you can kind of feel that they've been carrying, you know, that kind of thing that's been ticking, you know, it's the kind of the bottom of the to-do list that's just been sitting there and sitting there for a long time, and then when they do actually start making, you know, looking at the finances a bit more seriously, you know, they can see where, you know, they can put in place kind of things to help themselves for the future, and you can see that it is a big relief for them.
I think a lot of people might be listening to this going, well, that's sort of quite maybe a condescending comment about women, but the thing is, the women that come to us, they genuinely describe it just how you described it. And for me, like I might not understand that person's perspective, because obviously, you know, I'm pretty up to date with my own finances. But for example, my eating habits and going to the gym, it's been a really big mental barrier for me. Yeah. And so I try and liken it like that. I've spent years struggling with what I eat and how I eat and what I take and what I don't take. And then the menopause hit and it got even harder. And that's how I liken it. It's like, you know, you think, well, why is it taking you so long? It's such a sort of fly away comment, you know. you just don't think about it. There's other distractions. We've got a lot of other things to consider.
Life.
But it's, I think when you feel like it's something that's out of your reach or something that's not relevant for you, and there's so many different layers about, you know, the history, where you came from, what money you've got, what you haven't got, what you did have, and now what you do have or you haven't got now. There's so many different layers and thoughts around it. I don't think it's something you can easily pick apart, but at the end of the day, people will get there when they're ready.
Yeah, and I think very strong. You know, I was good at maths at school. I have been good at finance. You know, I've been an accountant. I understand numbers very, very, very well. You know, as well as anyone. And so, you know, come and talk to me. You know, I'm very good at this. You know, at that kind of thing. I can help you do it like you pay a professional in other kind of walks of life. Like,
I need a fitness instructor. Quite obviously.
I always say that we're part of your team. So you've got your dentist, you've got your doctor. You know, you've got your accountant, you've got your team. So I like to say to people, you know, we're part of your team. We'll help you with this journey. I know it feels overwhelming right now, but along the way we'll kind of make that
gradually
feel less overwhelming for you. We'll give you as much or as little support as you feel you need.
Exactly, and we have that expertise and that knowledge to be able to, you know, apply it for you and to help you
and make it not feel so huge.
So where should women prioritise? So it's like the emergency fund, pension, investing, debt reduction. There's a long list, right? Often helping their kids out before they even think about any of those other things. I had one client who was coming up to 50 and she paid for 3 children to go to university and had no pension. Where should they start? What should they prioritise?
So the first question we kind of always ask any client is emergency funds. So I think that is the starting point is, you know, do you have a savings pot, you know, money put aside to kind of deal with any...
Accessible as well.
Accessible and unexpected things like, you know, the tree surgeon or the boiler breaking down, the car breaking down. You know, do you have that? You know, we normally say 3 to 6 months of what you would typically spend.
Because if they're not doing that, all they're doing is when that big emergency fund comes up, that big emergency, the car breaks down, the boiler, the kids need new school shoes, they're going to have no option but to use potentially credit cards to pay for that, and which is just kind of, you just got spiralling into that debt. You know,
and we see that with some of my coaching clients, in that's what's happened. They haven't been able to put money aside or haven't really thought about it and organising themselves in that way, and so they have been using credit cards or using payday loans or Klarna.
It's so easy to do. It's so easy.
It's called a spiral effect. It's where you basically just gradually start going down and down and down, and it's hard to get your head above water to be at a point where you've actually putting enough aside, and then the next thing comes along. You know, it might be a school trip for the kids or whatever else, and then before you know it, the money's gone again. And you're just constantly trying to keep ahead. And I think a lot of people feel like that at the moment. Even if they've had a good job, you know, and they've had a bit of savings, I think a lot of people are finding the cost of living that much more.
The expectation as a parent is huge as well, right? There's always something. So
particularly this summer term, you know, there's so many trips.
School holidays coming up, like that costs a fortune in itself.
And again, now it's the teachers' gifts. You know, there's always a lot of
the teachers' gifts. What's that all about? I don't get gifts for doing my job.
Well, I'll give you a Christmas bonus sometimes if I feel like it.
A bunch of flowers here and there.
There's a lot of claims on all our money, and and it is very difficult for lots of people to be able to.
I mean, it used to just be a homemade card to teachers, and now it's like I've got to go out and
everything's like
they work very hard.
They do work very hard. They do work very hard.
Yeah, we love our teachers.
But no, it is. It's just that expectation. You constantly feel like you kind of is it the expression keeping up with the Joneses? Like you constantly doing it.
So it should be emergency funds. Do you think then debt reduction? Or should it be debt reduction and then emergency funds?
It depends though, doesn't it?
Depends what kind of debt, I suppose. So talking about credit card debt, we know, you know, people know that's really high interest rate, 20-25% you could be paying an interest rate. So that is definitely the one to deal with first. Try and get that.
Then if that's
it may involve just rolling it over into an interest free. You know, and reducing that
debt management rather than debt repayment,
and then
maybe
thinking about when that 0% rolls off. That's, you know, have a plan for dealing with it then. So
there's something called the snowball effect, I think, which is where you get rid of all the small ones first. Because it feels like if you've got 10 and you've got like 7 with loads of little payments, you get rid of those first. And I always struggled with that from a maths perspective, because to me it's like get rid of the one that's the most highest interest rate first.
Yeah.
But I think for a lot of people, if they're struggling mentally with like the shame and the guilt and the worry and the stress around debt, actually do whichever way works best for you in terms of mentally feeling like you're achieving something.
Personally, that would work better for me, because it would be like if you've got 10 and you can close off 7 and
Then
they're closed, they're gone, you've got 3 left.
Yeah,
so numbers
easier.
wise,
Yeah,
it's more kind of
it's more
visual, isn't it?
manageable.
I wonder if it's
Exactly.
worth saying about the debt. You know, I volunteer for a debt charity, actually. So I think that's something as well that people should be aware of, that if they are finding their debts very, very unmanageable, and, you know, they're really struggling and they have very little disposable income and
Go to
are
an
really
expert.
there's lots and lots of charities out there. I volunteer with one called Crosslight that works in parts of London and Kent, but there's others. There's a network throughout the country of debt advice agencies where you can get, you know,
Some more
get
hands-on
help.
advice.
Sometimes just
if you're
talking
really
about it,
struggling.
sometimes just laying it all out and
Being
helps
honest
you
about
focus.
it.
Yeah.
Well, we'll put a link to the charity so
Yeah.
that we can, if people can reach out if they need any more help around that.
Yeah.
So now, sort of looking a little bit further ahead of the where people get stuck. We've talked a little bit about stuck, and what sort of what sounds sensible on paper, but quietly slows wealth down in real life. Like, so you can write everything down, and we can be proactive about what we're doing, and we can start trying to have an emergency fund, and we can put some money into our pension. But what sort of are some bigger things that we could think longer down the line when it comes to wealth creation? Any ideas?
Go on, Carol. This is kind of your area of expertise, really, isn't it?
I think we see a lot of people, especially a lot of women. They've managed to save their emergency funds, and now, you know, they've got their finances in such a way that they are managing to save an amount every month, and they're putting money in a pension, and then over and above, they're putting money in a cash ISA and in premium bonds, and they're both, you know, great ways of saving. But over the longer term, if they're looking to save for 10, 20 years until their retirement, they are not the best way to maximise the amount of money that you will have in retirement. I think I was looking before we came, so some JP Morgan Asset Management had did a survey last year, and they said as a nation, we've been saving more money since the pandemic than we did beforehand. Funnily enough.
Interesting.
And we had about
really?
£1 trillion more in savings than would have been predicted.
Interesting.
I think, you know, when people weren't going out so much and weren't spending so much money, of that, £500 billion was in cash.
Wow.
And for example, in the UK, we invest about 7% of our money in equities and stocks and shares.
Oh, wow.
In the US,
Very
it's
low.
32%.
That is very low, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the issue with cash, it's great. It's, you know, it's a good,
It's safe,
safe
and that's
way.
what women like. They
Exactly,
like the access
yeah.
to it. They don't like the risk involved with investing it.
Yes.
But when they do actually start getting on it, and they
Yeah.
do start looking
Seeing
at it,
some
they're
of those
actually
returns.
they're actually
Yeah.
they're actually quite good at it.
Yeah.
Yes, no, really good, yeah.
Yeah.
And the problem, and the cost of living we talked about, it's just going up and up and up. And
Yeah.
the problem is, if you have your money in a cash ISA, it's very good, it's very safe, but you have to be very careful to see what interest rate you're getting,
Yeah.
and is it matching inflation. And then if you have a long time that you can, you know, you don't need the money for a long time, the returns you can get with stocks and shares can, over the longer term, potentially be better
Well,
based
the
on...
last 12 months, my average returns are about 17%. It's not guaranteed
Look,
going
I looked at
forward, and
this.
investments can
Yeah.
go up or down.
Yeah.
But my average is, you know,
I looked at it. The lowest we've had over the last 12 months, the lowest was 7.78. The highest was 20.54.
I had one the other day. It was 28.
Oh, did you? I haven't
Yeah.
seen that one.
And that's
okay.
where I see a lot of women
Wow,
that, you know, they're very
28.
much
That's mad.
prioritising the safety of cash. But if your cash is earning 4%,
Yeah.
Well,
you're not maximising what you
Yeah,
can potentially have in
absolutely.
retirement.
It's
And
about
so,
going from saving to investing, which is something that I say quite often, like about taking your savings to an investment. There's like that
It's
transition.
a big transition.
And of
Yeah.
course, we can't guarantee any returns. That, you know, that's what's happened in the past, and we don't know what
We don't
will
know.
happen
Yeah,
in the
what's
future.
Trump going to do tomorrow?
Exactly. But over the longer term, you know, over the last 100 years, markets have, you know, gone
Generally,
up.
yeah.
would
If you look
hope
at a
that-
graph over a trajectory over 100 years, they're all going in that
But
direction.
even during COVID, which was a really scary time for everybody,
Market's done fantastically well.
the returns, I mean, we have had dips since the 9 years that I've been working with you, but I don't think I'm yet to see a negative return.
Yeah.
No.
And that's where we want women to be doing as well as
I don't think
as
I have
men
anyway.
are. You know,
Yeah.
men have a more of a tendency to invest and
Exactly,
to
yeah.
do that. Women, traditionally, not every woman, but as a whole,
no,
women
it's true.
haven't been
I
investing
hope
as
that, I
much.
think younger women are getting better at it.
Yeah.
So if listeners could do one thing after this episode, so if every listener took one action in the next 7 days, what would it be?
Oh wow! I just said it, and I said it's about taking your savings from savings to investing. Now, okay, if you've got a lump sum in savings and you're not quite confident putting it all over into investment, that's fine. Let's start off slow. But yeah, taking that transition from saving to investing so you can see potentially those real returns.
But what I would also say on that though is a lot of people that are on like online or looking for that kind of online, they go, so they take your advice and they're like, okay, I'm going to go and find that. Then the issue is that they might start buying like the shares from a certain trillionaire who has just created another company that you can buy shares in. And I'm not talking, so I interpret what you've just said is it's not that. Actually, it could be as simple as you're already invested, but you're invested in your pension and you don't know how you're invested. And actually look at the tax efficient ways that your pension could do better for you and what your current pension is currently invested in.
How are you invested? Is it diverse? Does it meet your risk score? That kind of thing.
Yes,
like,
exactly.
Are you invested correctly for you?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Carol, what would you add to that?
I would kind of go back to kind of where we started the episode, really talking about wealth being what you're not spending. Almost, and have a think about, what you are spending and what spending means to you, and think about, is there anything that you're potentially spending that you could potentially be diverting into more longer term savings.
So you'd go right back to the beginning, looking
the basics,
at budgeting, like where are you spending money that you don't need to be?
Exactly, and then that then might be the building blocks for being able
going on to the next step, which is us. Are you investing?
And I would take it like there's a bit in between. I feel like it would go, Carol, what you've just said, then what I'm going to say, and then what you've just said, Katie. So the bit in between for me would be listing out, like you were describing, Katie, all what you have got, and listing out all the payments that you're paying for, all the insurances you're paying for, and creating like a summary document where you've listed everything, not just from a budget outgoing perspective, but actually what it is, what insurances do you have, what are you paying for? Because a lot of people are paying for insurances, they actually, maybe they've changed jobs already, or maybe actually their life cover's not enough because they've renewed their mortgage since and took out a home improvement or extended the term and didn't know.
Or they're overpaying it. They've actually reduced their mortgage.
Exactly.
And they've got
so I would just
so much cover.
do a summary. And so that ends on a really good note as we wrap up this episode, is that we have a financial wellbeing quiz on our website. So we'll put in the show notes, we'll put a link for you. And that basically does 12 questions, and it's a really quick way summary where we ask yes or no questions as to where you are with your finances. That's a really good place to start if you're not sure. So thank you for joining us for this episode. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you for having us.
It's been a great session. And if you want to listen to more, we'll be releasing another episode every Friday over the summer holidays for your summer reset, your summer refresh. And the next episode that we're going to be talking about is why women earn, save, but still struggle to build wealth. So we're going to be carrying on this conversation that we've started today in a little bit more detail. So if you want to join us, then carry on listening. Do listen. So do subscribe on whatever platform you fancy, whether that's YouTube or on iTunes or on Spotify. And do let your friends know about our summer season, our summer reset. There might be something really important, a really important nugget in there that you could share with your friends and your family. So thanks for joining us today. Thank you for joining us today at Accelerating Your Wealth with your host, myself, Rebecca Robertson. I hope you enjoyed the show. Do subscribe and let us know in the comments any of your thoughts.